Masked anti-immigration demonstrators have smashed windows at a Holiday Inn Express in Rotherham. It follows similar protests across England and Northern Ireland. At least 90 people arrested yesterday amid clashes between demonstrators and counter-protesters, with police officers attacked and injured. You break the law in this country, you go to prison. They break the law in this country and put them up in a hotel. They don't own this country. 2 days, 3 young lives, one nation pushed beyond its limit. And now all eyes turn toward Rotherham. The first reports broke just after midday, and by the time dusk spread across the country, the anger born in Southport had already descended on a town carrying wounds Westminster has spent years refusing to confront. By nightfall, crowds from more than 60 cities had merged into a single force. Hundreds of thousands moving toward one hotel. The Holiday Inn police counted heads. Journalists counted miles, but no number came close to the one truth rising above every shout. The greatest damage was not done in Southport. It was the trust Westminster allowed to break. Inside the Commons, the exchanges grew sharper. This year has been the worst in history for illegal immigrants crossing the Channel, up 38% compared to last year. Does she accept that allowing 95% of illegal immigrants to stay will be no deterrent? It is this government and this Home section that will clean up their mess. The minister offered no reply. She closed her folder and steered the chamber toward another subject. No admission, no solution. Hours later, a new outline emerged. A £4.7 million Home Office plan to increase the region's policing unit by 25%, funded not by contingencies but by draining youth services and community safety schemes. Everyone understood it as an admission that control had already slipped. It was the only answer Rotherham received, and the last it was willing to accept. Outside, patrol cars tightened their loops. Inside, the committee moved on without a word. The breaking point came without warning. And in London, the Prime Minister finally spoke. Right now, there are attacks happening on a hotel in Rotherham. Marauding gangs intent on lobby breaking or worse. Windows smashed, fire set ablaze, residents and staff in absolute fear. There is no justification, none, for taking this action. At 4:11, and a window on the south side of the car park shattered, the sound slicing across nearly 300 metres of ground, packed with more than 10,000 people. For a heartbeat, the crowd froze. Then it moved as one. The first wave hit the fences with sheer force, followed by thousands who had been swelling along Canklow Road since midday. The frontline barrier collapsed in under 5 seconds. Metal bent inward as bodies pressed from every direction. Officers lifted their shield, forming a line so thin it looked swallowed by the mass driving against it. Several protesters tore long wooden planks from a nearby fence, swinging them at the hotel windows until the frames gave way. Chairs and tables were hurled through the gaps, turning the entrance into a tunnel of splintered wood and glass. A police car lurched violently as dozens slammed into its side, fists and boots hammering the panels. Another group, close to 400, surged down the service road, cutting off the rear access entirely. Radios crackled with panic, shouting that the North Gate was breached and units should fall back with immediate backup required. By 4:18 p.m, the perimeter was gone. The crowd now stood where police had stood minutes earlier, breath sharp, fists clenched. Whatever restraint held Rotherham together had lasted exactly 7 minutes. Reinforcements reached Rotherham after 4:20 p.m, blue lights cutting through the smoke outside the hotel. Police formed a second perimeter, thick and tight, but the line sagged under pressure, swelling in from all sides. No one stepped forward. No one stepped back. The town held in a hard, narrow balance, the kind that exists only seconds before the first break inside Westminster. Starmer received live updates. He did not go to the Commons. He did not leave Downing Street. When he finally appeared on camera, it was from a controlled room built for message discipline rather than crisis response. His tone was steady, almost detached, as if speaking about a distant event rather than a town straining under the weight of its own fear. Insert your K-Star quote here. The words carried no pulse, Officers on the ground were reaching their limits. Streets in Rotherham were closing one block at a time. Yet London insisted that measures remained adequate. It was reassurance for an audience that did not live here and had not listened for years. By early evening, nothing had moved. Not the police line, not the crowd, but something deeper had shifted. The hinge between order and collapse loosened. It was not a riot, not yet, but it was the moment a community realised the capital was watching, not standing with them. Night did not bring calm to Rotherham. It brought clarity. By 8 p.m, the last remnants of the crowd had thinned, leaving behind a town suspended between shock and disbelief. The Holiday Inn stood dark, its windows hollow, its entrance blocked by twisted fencing and burnt debris. Streetlights flickered on pavements stained with smoke. The violence had stopped, but its outline remained in boarded shops, overturned bins, and police cordons left untouched. Local authorities confirmed no fatalities, but dozens treated for panic and breathing difficulties. Emergency lines recorded a 340% surge in calls. Families kept their lights off, windows locked, listening to distant helicopters. At 9:12 p.m, the Home Office issued one line stating that public order remained stable. It avoided the fear, the silence, and the damage. Online images showed empty streets, entire blocks taped off, buses route indefinitely. A supermarket closed after staff refused the night shift. Rotherham was not burning, it was holding its breath. Morning exposed what darkness blurred. Haze clung to the roads, mixing with the smell of burnt wiring. Police tape cut across 4 junctions. Clean-up teams hesitated, unsure where debris ended and damage began. The council listed 97 affected properties, millions in losses, school closures and travel warnings, but numbers did not capture the mood. People stepped outside slowly, not to protest but to understand. Shop shutters rose halfway. Conversation shrank. No one raised their voice. Westminster repeated that order was restored, but trust was not. From above, Rotherham looked calm. On the ground, it felt fractured. In London, responses arrived quickly in wording, but not in meaning. Downing Street circulated lines urging departments not to amplify tensions. None addressed their cause. Starmer chaired a brief security call described as procedural. Reports he received were stripped of context, turning fear into metrics. Local MPs asked for detail and received a paragraph. Councils asked for help and were promised a review. Police unions warned of exhaustion and heard the same answer, that resources were sufficient. The gap between Rotherham and Westminster widened. One side spoke from experience, the other from scripts. By the second day, Rotherham had become a signal. Small vigils appeared in nearby towns, not marches, not rallies, and just quiet acknowledgement that something fundamental had shifted. Forums filled with accounts of sleepless children and damaged businesses. Councils demanded urgent meetings, citing collapsing public confidence. Broadcasters aired softened reports. Westminster insisted this was an isolated incident, but towns do not change routines for something isolated. They change them when stability feels temporary. By evening, one sentence echoed across South Yorkshire. We knew this was coming. It was not prophecy. It was accumulated neglect. By the third day, the town shifted from reaction to reflection. Residents returned in small groups, not to demand, but to understand. Cafes opened with half their staff. Churches taped messages of support to their doors. Volunteers swept glass without waiting for direction. It was not recovery, it was recognition. People spoke carefully, aware that careless words could reopen fractures. They did not debate blame. They spoke about the moment their town became a headline before they understood the story. Teenagers taped a sheet to a window that read, "Let us not lose who we are." By afternoon, it was filled with signatures. No slogans, no politics, just names. Rotherham will move forward, but slowly. Towns always do after nights like this. What remains is a choice. not between sides, but between futures, one shaped by fear or one shaped by understanding, one driven by noise or one anchored in truth. The country will argue over what happened, politicians will script their versions, but those who live through it know something simpler. No community survives on anger alone. It needs truth, calm, and the courage to speak without turning every street into a battlefield. If you believe in reporting that rejects distortion and refuses division, stay with Brit News. Share this with someone who still believes peace is possible. No town should stand alone in moments like this, and no truth should be abandoned because it is inconvenient.